Now, you were in the middle of one of the classic radio battles of our city when 13Q came on the air. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How that seemed sitting from the.
I was at KQV at that time.
Exactly.
KQV was a top 40 radio station. And I was hired to do the 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. show, including not only music, but a few phone calls. And everything was going fine. Then along came 13Q, which is WJAS. Well, everybody was getting nervous because they were giving away money like it was going out of style on 13Q. And people at KQV were getting nervous. So the brass came in from out of town to discuss the matter, and we had a meeting of all the personalities and the management and the salespeople. And I piped up, I said, well, they're 13Q, why don't we call ourselves 14K? Well, among the brass from New York, there was silence. Why? Because that's what they were going to do. We never did it.
Oh, boy. Can you tell us, you talked about the record hops, but one time you had Neil Sedaka at a record hop, and you did something unusual with him.
Yeah, I had an after-prom place in the North Hills, was it called? Pine Valley. It was a roller rink and a teenage nightclub. And it was funny because all these kids were coming in from their proms after midnight, and we went from midnight till about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. No drinking, not allowed. Fun. And I always dressed in a tux because that's what the kids were wearing. And whenever there was a recording artist in town, I'd have him come out. But we ran it just like a nightclub. It's a funny thing, you know. I'd stand up there. I stole jokes and lines from every comedian who I never heard. Now, those comedians would not tell their jokes on television because they were very old. The jokes were very old. So I'd stand up there and I had the kids roaring and laughing and laughing. They never heard this stuff before. They'd never been to a nightclub, you know. Years later, I'll never forget, a kid came up to me, a young man came up to me, he said, "Hey Perry, I want to tell you something. My girl and I went to a club the other night, and there was a comedian there. He stole all your material." But that was a fun time. Neil Sedaka. Neil was in town, and he came to our after-prom party and made an appearance and lip-synced a couple of his records. And we had an old upright piano there. And I said, "Neil, you know, he's a wonderful pianist. I said, "Neil, would you play something for us?" He said, "Perry, I don't think these kids would like what I play." I said, "Well, you play classics." He said, "Well, yes." I said, "How about it, kids? You want to hear Neil Sedaka sit down at the piano, at the old beat-up piano, and play something really classic?" Yay! Well, he did. They were thrilled. I don't remember what he played, but it was a classic piece, and he beat the hell out of that old piano, and it did a beautiful job.
Jack, talk about the time you became mayor of Pittsburgh.
For a day.
For a day. Pete Flaherty and I had a bet on the Penguins, and I had structured the bet so that no matter who won the bet, I won. It was kind of like heads I win, tails you lose, you know. And I forget how the bet came together, but Pete Flaherty was a good guy, had a great sense of humor, and he went along with it. And the upshot of the whole thing was, if he won, he got to do my show for a day. If I won, I got to be mayor for a day. But we both traded so that we were both involved. And Pete came down. I think he won, so he came down and did my show for the morning. And then halfway through the show, I got to be mayor, so I asked that we have a police escort and we'd be able to go the wrong direction up Fort Duquesne Boulevard. And we did all of that, and I got to inspect the police department. And you know, I was an officer in the Army, and also a drill sergeant before I became an officer. And I inspected the police department, and a lot of the officers didn't think it was real funny. Pete thought it was absolutely hilarious. And then he took me to lunch at McDonald's. Oh, and he paid me in zlotys. That's Polish money.
Yes.
And with the withholding and the deductions and the city taxes and everything, my paycheck came to 0. And I still have the zlotys on the wall at home, and the mayor for a day, and the pay stub. No total on it at all, but that was fun, and we could do that because that was stream of consciousness radio. And whenever an opportunity came up, if you could figure out something that sounded like fun, you just did it.
Yeah, you know, Jack, it's interesting you say that because what's happened to talk radio, most of it is so conservative now. But when I did talk radio in KDKA, Roy Fox, 6 o'clock, John Cigna, 9 o'clock, and then I could go. Now, we were all different. Roy was very, very liberal. Cigna was very conservative, and then I came along saying, there. But we were all entertainers. We knew how to have fun on the air. Can I give us one story? One night, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm doing my show on KKA. I decided it's too heavy. So I decided, we're going to do something different tonight. I decided to play nose guitar. You ever play nose guitar? Take one finger, close a nostril, and you hum. And you take the other finger. That's a nose guitar. Right? People all over the United States were playing nose guitar.
Oh, that's great.
Got a call the next night from a woman in Nebraska. Said, my husband got up at 3 o'clock in the morning and looked at me and said, what the hell are you doing? She said, I'm playing nose guitar, and he threatened to divorce me.